This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, so this is the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership, and today is Thursday, March 24th, and it is 6:04 p.m. Is anyone willing to take notes?
What is that? Oh, okay.
Jamie, or did you say yes?
I will take notes tonight. I've been taking notes for the housing partnership in a long time, so this gets me off the hook for a little while, right?
It does, yes.
Unless you do a great job.
We did talk at one point, we could talk about this at another meeting, like having a rotating, I mean, someone could volunteer to do it every meeting, which is lovely, or we could do a rotating note taker. So every meeting, somebody volunteers, and we could decide that at the end of this meeting, who wants to do it for next meeting. It's, doesn't have to be, well, you've seen the notes, so it's not like a verbatim word for word what we say, but just kind of general themes of what we talk about. So we could talk about that at the end of the meeting if we want to. I want to welcome Kate Bannigan White, who's our newest member. And actually, Kayam, this is now you are an official member because you've been appointed by the City Council. So welcome to both of you. I don't know, Kate, if you want to say hello or anything you want us to know about you before we get started.
Oh, I'm Kate, and I live off Clark, so in precinct 3, Tom Peaks precinct. And I'm a social worker. I'm currently on medical leave. I had an illness last year and now I'm just recovering. So I have a daughter who's at college. Lovely. I don't know what else to say. I like to cook. All right. That's my big thing.
Excellent. Well, we're very excited to have you. We have 7 members in the house, which is the most we've had in a long time. So I'm super excited to have some new faces and some people who are interested. I have been on the Housing Partnership since 2008, and the chair for a really long time. And Jackie Russo Pereira, who's also on the Housing Partnership, has actually been on it longer than I. She was when it was still a housing committee before it became a housing partnership. So she wins the award for the longest serving member. But we're psyched to have some new faces. So thank you, 3 of you, for being interested. So I'm going to move the approval of minutes maybe to a little bit later in the meeting. But I did have, when I made this agenda last week, Jamie emailed me and said, I don't think I have anything for the agenda. And I was like, I don't think I really have anything either. And then I thought of 7 things. So I was like, oh, actually I do have some things to, and they're all kind of small updates. But the first one on the agenda is town lodging update. So this is actually kind of, I think, big news. So for a little bit of background for our new members is that the city of Easthampton has owned this property on Oliver Street, 75 Oliver Street, that we call town lodging. It used to be the Easthampton Poor Farm. It has a historic preservation restriction on it and an affordable housing deed restriction. And I don't actually know when this occurred, Jamie, but this over a decade ago?
Even earlier than that. It was in the 90s that both of those were put on.
And the property is a single room occupancy property, so or SRO. And so what that means is that residents have their own bedroom, but they share common facilities like the bathroom and the kitchen. It's been managed by SMOC, which is South Middlesex Opportunity Council, which is a human service organization that's actually located in Framingham, but they operate several properties in Easthampton. They do some recovery houses. They do some case management kind of work. They have a couple other properties in Easthampton, one for veterans, one for women in recovery, at least one other, maybe 2 other. And they've been operating this property on Oliver Street for a while, and it does have a deed restriction. Residents have to meet a certain income limit to live there, and their rent was about $300 a month. It didn't really have what we consider like a subsidy in the property. There wasn't Section 8 or some other federal or state source that was helping to pay for the property. But the rent was low, and SMOC leased it from the city for $1 and provided information to the planning department to certify that the residents were low income. Hi, Jackie. And for a long time, we've known that there's been some like major capital needs at the property. You know, it's been in sort of had some major renovations that were needed, and the housing partnership and the planning office had asked for some CPA money a few years ago to do a study of the property to see like what were the needs, and if there was funding available, what could we use the funding for, like heating, roofing. There was a back porch that was in a lot of disrepair. And I think over the last like 6 months, and Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's been a lot of even a sort of increased concern from SMOC that the property is really not safe. And I work at Community Action Pioneer Valley in my work life, and we sometimes would hear from residents and the property manager actually about the property. And several of the residents were recipients of the Easthampton Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So they received $3,000 to help pay for their rent, which there actually covers like a really long time because the rent was so low. And my computer. And in the last like month or so, it seems like that issue got really elevated between the mayor's office and SMOC. And all of the residents have moved out. So they've all been relocated, I think, to some properties that SMOC operated in Easthampton or other places. Those residents who received emergency rental assistance, we've been told that that money went with them to their new location. So if they had a balance at town lodging, they were able to use that balance at their new apartment. I don't have a lot of details about that, but that's what they've told us or told the city. And the property is vacant and the city is reclaiming possession. Yeah, this is like Jackie saying, wow, this is big news if like you knew anything about this property. And so now the city has reclaimed possession of the property, and sort of its future is a little bit unknown at this point. The mayor has indicated that, you know, she would like to keep it for single room occupancy housing. But at this point, we know that it needs a lot of repair, and the city would need a partner in order to move the property forward to become safe and a place to live. So I wanted to update you because this is, the housing partnership has always been very, and the city also, I think, but very protective of this property. It serves some of our most vulnerable residents. A lot of residents who live at town lodging are coming either from recovery. Some of them are coming from being incarcerated. They're coming from shelter. Sort of this has been for a lot of folks like their next like place on the ladder to go in terms of like becoming more self-sufficient and looking for more permanent housing. So we have always been really interested in, yes, Jamie's taking minutes, Jackie. Always really wanted to keep, to keep hold of this property because we do think it serves a really important purpose in Easthampton. It's complicated because it has a historic preservation restriction on it, which makes renovating it kind of expensive. It's also not located in a particularly great location. It's on Oliver Street. It's not close to downtown. So that's always been a challenge for residents because it's really not available. It's not on public transit. So if you have a vehicle, that's okay. But a lot of folks don't have vehicles. And so, but I think it'll be interesting. I think we should keep an eye on sort of what happens going forward. And I'm hope and, sort of assume that we will be asked for input as the process goes forward. I don't have any real updates about like what's going to happen next, other than it's vacant and the city is going to, you know, make sure it's secure so that people aren't able to go in and out. Hi, Shira. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
When is that going to be decided on, and like what committee is going to be doing that? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. The mayor's response to me was kind of, you know, her goal would be to keep it as SROs and they would be looking for a partner, but
Nothing right now.
nothing right now. And I don't know if it would be, yeah, I don't know what the process would be. You know, if we wanted to sell the property, it would go through, I would assume, a request for proposal process because it's a city-owned parcel, but I think it's complicated because of the restrictions that are currently on it. Yeah. Yes. Jamie's nodding. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Great. Next on the agenda is about the CHAPA Municipal Engagement Initiative meeting. So to recap for Kate's benefit, we applied to participate in something called the Municipal Engagement Initiative that's sponsored by Citizens Housing and Planning Association, otherwise known as CHAPA, in Boston. They do a lot of technical assistance and support to municipalities around affordable housing, among other things. And we applied to this initiative to help Easthampton build a coalition of support around affordable housing. So it's not just the 7 of us talking about affordable housing, but we get really some technical support to build a big coalition of folks that would be interested in affordable housing, particularly when we have a project in town that we need people to come out and talk about and in support of. So it's not just hearing from neighbors who are in opposition, but from hearing from people who are in support of the project, who feel educated and ready to make those kinds of comments. So we were super excited to get accepted. And basically the next step, we've been working on the stakeholder list, as most of you know, to help create like a invitation list to people who would come to this meeting. And our next step is to actually schedule the meeting. And so the proposal is to hold it on May 26th, which is a regularly scheduled housing partnership meeting. So it would be Thursday night. Originally, we were going to do it via Zoom. However, this is a question to Jamie. I think that we now have to hold it in person, given the press release that the city issued yesterday. Or I don't know if that's a Lindsay question that I should ask Lindsay.
I believe that the partnership would need to be present in person, but that we could do a hybrid, a hybrid type meeting to increase participation.
Okay.
But just because it's like a special event or whatnot, but I think going forward, the intent is for the housing partnership to be in person and not doing hybrid meetings, generally speaking. But I think that's probably later on the agenda where you wanted to talk about that.
Okay, so that's good to know that we could do it. I can ask CHAPA what they prefer. They're willing to come out and CHAPA staff be here in person. They would be facilitating the meeting for us. Originally, I thought it would be via Zoom, and then the next day, or like 5 minutes later, I got an email from Lindsay in the mayor's office saying that we were all going back in person. So I'll talk to CHAPA about if they, want to do hybrid. I think hybrid is complicated, but we can discuss that with them. But does that date seem okay for everyone? Doing it in April seems like it's too soon. And we'd really like to do at least one meeting, be able to have maybe 2 meetings before we get to July and August, when people tend to not want to do meetings and want to go on vacation.
Jana, will you say the date again? Because I was adding someone to the spreadsheet when you were saying it.
May 26th, which is our regularly scheduled housing partnership meeting. And we could do it, they usually schedule them for an hour and a half. So it could be 6 to 7:30 or 6:30 to 8. Do people have feelings
I have a lot of feelings. No,
about this particular topic?
I
Just
would
have a lot of feel.
I would prefer 6:30 to 8, but that's just me personally.
Do we,
I
I'm
vote.
sorry, you said if it's hybrid. If it is hybrid, where is it?
Well, I think the question is if it's in person, where is it? And I'm
Yeah.
guessing we could use, it depends how many people we think are really going to show up. And I would, ask your opinion, Jamie. Like we could use where the city council usually meets on the second floor at the municipal building. If that doesn't feel big enough, then I don't know if we could use Old Town Hall.
I mean, those places are available, but
Yeah, I guess it's
if
probably.
we're gonna be in hybrid, the only places that would be set up for hybrid would be the where the city council meets, that could handle more than like 10 or 15 people. Otherwise, in person, we have more options, and it's a question of, I don't know what occupancy limits are in COVID, but if not for COVID, then the city council chambers are large enough, and certainly like the flywheel space would be should be sufficient as well.
I also vote for 6:30 to 8. I just think it's like enough past dinner time that you're not like racing home from work and then having to race to something else. But
That time works for me as well.
Same here.
okay. Okay, well, I will touch base with Dana from CHAPA about the options, and maybe I can check in with Jamie about if we need to reserve some space or make sure that I can look into what the occupancy limits are. I mean, obviously our stakeholder list has a lot of people on it. I do not expect that hundreds of people are going to show up to this meeting. However, I will share, and I won't share like specific details, but I will share that Jeff has already gotten some phone calls specifically around the school reuse committee and potential, what those school buildings could be reused for, housing, et cetera. That Jeff's gotten a few calls of people who are not interested in more housing or more affordable housing. So I actually think this is great because this is exactly why we applied for the Municipal Engagement Initiative. And I think it's great to know this now that we have a couple folks, some that we expected and a couple that maybe we didn't expect, that are already saying like, no, I don't want that in my neighborhood, because it's great to know like where our opposition might be and to be like ready for it. So I actually was like, that's great news because we can be ready, which was really the whole point, because in previous years we have not been ready, and it would be, it'd fall to us to sort of do all the talking, and it's much more compelling if it's going to come from a broad coalition of residents and business owners and other folks who are interested in this. So just that's like, so I do think that, I don't know if those people will come to our meeting per se, but as particularly the school reuse stuff starts to cycle into city council and they start talking about it more, I think they will go there. And so it just gives us an early opportunity to start working on this and get ready. So
Here's my random question of the day, or at least on this topic. Do we have any money in any kind of budget where we could do a actual postcard and send it out to people to invite them to this? Or are we just going to try and do it via email?
So the housing partnership does not have a budget, and
I know.
And the CHAPA grant did not come with money, but the planning department does have postcards that we can use to do mailings, and we can cover the postage. It's not going to be a huge amount of if it's 100 postcards, that's like $35 or something like that, and definitely something that the planning department can cover. If we tried to like blanket the whole city, that might be pushing some things, but target mailing is definitely something we can do.
I just think that for some people that kind of a personal, and maybe we can all take a stack for folks that we know we want to reach out to and just have more of a personal touch. I think that plus an email, I don't know if other people agree, but I think sometimes it's nice to have that.
Yeah, I would agree.
If we want to go that route, then I would need some help in getting addresses for the people. I think right now we have preliminary contact information, but we don't have great contacts for everybody that we want to invite.
I'm happy to sit down with the registered voter list and do some cross-checking.
Okay.
Because that would be, I mean, when I look at that list, most of those are pretty engaged folks, so I'm assuming, I mean, I don't think it would be that hard to find addresses for those folks.
No, it's not that hard. It's just a little time consuming.
Yeah, but it's something I can do while watching TV some night with my children,
Thank you.
Thanks,
Do
Jackie.
we want to, if we're meeting in person in April, do we want to have a little postcard writing party where we take a stack and identify people we know and do that? Is that doable?
We can
I think
also
we can at least take them home with us at that meeting. Yeah.
we can also do.
I like doing it in the meeting because then we know it gets done and then we hand them to Jamie and they get sent.
That's true.
Yeah, so that we can go either way. We can go in the past, the planning department has the postcards we can print on. So we've used them for like a butters mailings. Maybe people have gotten them for planning board or zoning board. And they, obviously the text would change to be more inviting than you've just been notified. Or if you want to do handwritten notes, that's fine too, but we do have that option to print a message, or and if we get them, if we know all the details, we can print some things and then add a handwritten note at the bottom.
And Chapo will give us sort of what it should say, like the invitation details. They will write that for us. So we don't have to actually do it. I mean, so be good. Okay, well, so does that all sound good to folks? I do want to, so just as bleeding into so I guess we're going back to meeting in person. When I wrote that on the agenda, it was because Lindsay from the mayor's office had asked me, or asked everybody, hey, what is your committee going to do? And I wrote back I don't know. What we have not at all talked about going back in person. Was that a thing we were supposed to talk about? So, and then today there was a press release about the committees that are piloting a hybrid, which we are not on because we apparently were not ready to say, yes, we wanted to do that. So that does mean we are going back in person in April. We typically meet in the 50 Payson Avenue and Conference Room B, which is in the basement next to the planning office. That's where we used to meet. So I just wanted to take folks' temperature about how they feel about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm really excited to go back to in person, or go to in person for the first time.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. But did you say B like basement or D like dog?
Like basement. So in the basement and in Conference Room B. I will have to confirm that with Barbara because obviously 2 years have gone by before we've actually met in person, but
yeah, I know that Barbara's doing the scheduling for in-person meetings and the conference rooms, and there will be some boards and committees will have to readjust. But I don't think that there's anyone else on the fourth Thursdays at 6 o'clock. So we should be okay.
Another reason to hold the CHAPA meeting on May 26th is that there's not other conflicts, like CPA is not meeting, city council's not meeting, planning board's not meeting. So some of our other committees that members might want to come to are not meeting on those nights. So it would work out nice. Okay, well, I will confirm with Barbara the actual meeting room, but then we should plan on our April meeting, which is April something that will be back in person. April 29th, is that true? No, 20. Yeah, no, 28th. Sorry, I'm looking at Fridays. April 28th. Okay. Just a reminder that I've sent multiple emails, and I apologize, that there's these 2 required trainings that we have to do. So one is sort of new of a requirement. It's on the open meeting law. The city is requiring that we do this. And I've done it. I think Kayam's done it. I don't know if other folks have done it. It's actually not terrible. It's, you know, it's on Zoom. You just listen. They can't see you. You can be eating your dinner while you're listening to it. I actually did learn a few things, and it was a good reminder for me when especially doing the agenda that I shouldn't use acronyms. Like everything should be like as clear as possible to the public who might want to come to our meetings. You will get an email receipt that you attended, and you need to send that email receipt to Lindsay in the mayor's office to confirm that you've done it. I don't know what will happen if we don't do it, but I probably will hear about it. So please just make the time. It's not terrible. The other one is about conflict of interest, and that one is required by the state for everybody who's a public employee, which includes us as members of the housing partnership. And that one you have to take a quiz at the end unless it's changed, and then you get a certificate, and you have to send that certificate again to the mayor's office. There was a whole bunch of meeting dates that I emailed out. Please register for one of these training, for both the trainings. Some are during the day, some are in the evening. And if you can't make any of them, then please let me know so that I can let Lindsay know.
If I have that certificate, because I work in a jail, so I had to do that same training, can I just send that? Yes. Okay.
Yes, same with Jackie. Anybody who has to do this for work, you can send it to Lindsay. So I don't know if it's the same, but the conflict of interest one used to be like this recorded training, and it felt like a Saturday Night Live skit to me, because the guy has such a strong Boston accent.
The thickest Boston accent ever.
It's hilarious because it is literally like, yeah, classic Boston accent. Yeah.
So very quick tangent. At the jail, we cannot just open Google Chrome. Like, it's impossible to just open an application. You have to actually open like a saved website, and that's the only one. So every day when I'm in my jail, the first thing is, thank you for attending required open. But I have to hear it because it plays automatically.
Yeah. So yeah, just a reminder.
Don't park your car here.
It's just,
Don't take tickets to the game. Can't get Red Sox tickets.
It's great. All right. I, of course, on my work computer, which has decided that it needs to restart itself in the next 8 minutes. So this happened to me once before. I don't know why this always happens, but I'm actually going to turn it over to Jamie while I'm doing this, in case there's any update on the Valley CDC CPA proposal. And then I'll be back in a minute. And okay, I'm not the co-host. Okay, I'll be back.
So Valley CDC applied to the CPA for the creation of a housing sustainability and support program for people to do financial work on their finances and savings in order to eventually work for home ownership. I think most people were here. Valley came to this committee a number of times to discuss this proposal over the last few years. Literally, I think took like 2 years because of COVID for them to get everything together and go to meetings and all that, and changes of executive directors and things like this. So They did eventually bring that proposal to the CPA in February. And then again in March, the CPA voted at the March meeting to send that request for funding to City Council. They approved the request unanimously. And so that request for the supplementary appropriation will go to City Council for the first meeting in April. And then it'll go to the Finance Subcommittee. Excuse me. It'll go to the City Council Finance Subcommittee the second Wednesday in April, which I think is April 13th. And then we'll go, assuming it gets a favorable vote, it will go to the back to the full City Council for the final approval on April 20th. So if folks of the partnership are willing and have the time on the April 13th Finance Subcommittee to come to the meeting, I'll explain in a minute, Shara, and support this, that would be great. Excuse me. Sorry for the acronyms. CPA is the Community Preservation Act.
Oh, okay.
It is a tax program for it's raised locally through property taxes, and it's matched by the state every fiscal year. Then the funds can only be used for affordable housing, open space or recreation projects, and historic preservation. And annually, the CPA has about, in Easthampton, has about $600,000 or $700,000 that they can spend on those three categories. So Jana is coming back into the meeting now. So if there's any questions about that, that the Valley proposal or meeting dates or anything like that, or more explanation.
Did you say April 2nd?
So that you don't, so that's when it goes, the appropriation goes to City Council, but literally they don't do anything other than say, we've received an appropriation and now we send it to the Finance Subcommittee to discuss it.
Okay.
So do not, there's no point to go to that April 2nd meeting, but the second Wednesday in April, I think it's the 13th.
Okay.
Is, and at usually 5 p.m. is when the Finance Subcommittee meets. I will send as soon as I get the agenda from the committee chair, I will forward it to the members of the Housing Partnership. So that way you'll get about it usually comes out like that Thursday before the meeting, so the week before.
And we're guessing that they're meeting in person as well at that point.
Unclear.
Okay.
I think that the City Council is meeting in person, but their subcommittees are doing hybrid. Or sorry, City Council is doing hybrid, and I think the subcommittees are fully remote. I'm not 100% sure what's going on, and
You'll let us know when you know.
yeah, it'll be on the agenda.
Okay, cool.
So it'll either be at 50 Pace Nav or it'll be at 50 Pace Nav with some hybrid option. So, you know, the thing about the hybrid and the open meeting law is that board members need to be present in person, and the other participants in the meeting, the non-board members, can be remote. So for going to City Council Finance Subcommittee, no problem for everybody on this call to be remote for it, but when we actually have the Housing Partnership meetings, we'll need all of the board members to be present.
Jamie, do you recall who's chairing Finance Subcommittee now?
It's still Dan Rist.
Okay, thanks.
And he's
Curious
fully
on, like-
supportive of this program, the Valley proposal.
I'm just curious, like on hybrid. So does that mean that the board members that are present need to have their computer with them so that everyone can see them?
I don't know, because we have not been trained yet by IT for how hybrid would work. I think the intent is that there would be one video camera for the room that captures both all the board members and all of the members of the public that are present, and that there would be a microphone for everybody as well. And then there'd be one large TV that would show all of the remote participants. But like I said, we haven't been trained yet, and
that's how corporate like telecommunication systems work. So I would assume it would be similar.
Yeah.
I think that's the intent. I just don't know what the likelihood, that we'll all get the training and know how to use the system. So it's good that the Housing Partnership is meeting towards the end of the month, because we should have had a few spectacular trials.
We can just say we're meeting in person, period. We don't have to offer the hybrid option, right? That's our choice.
Sort of. I think the decision's been made.
That we are not offering hybrid because we didn't answer in time. Okay.
Yeah, and except for this special occasion where we'll do
26th.
something for, but again, that's not till May, so we'll definitely have had our trials before then.
Our meetings are open, right? Are all our meetings always open the whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
You will learn in your open meeting law training, unless we went into executive session, which I don't think that the Housing Partnership would ever have a reason to do. Or we have yet to have a reason to go into executive session. So everything's open.
Once we start questioning someone's sanity.
Yeah, right. Then we have to go into executive session. Yes, I guess if we wanted to remove someone from the Housing Partnership, I don't know. We that's never happened so far. So
you guys can just tell me if you want. Okay, so I'm sorry. So since the three of us or whatever have only been online, so does that look like we're in the basement in conference room B, and sometimes people just come in and kind of hang out and talk?
Yeah, I mean, historically, no one really ever comes in except for us.
Yeah.
So sure, if you want to,
but we've had some visitors on Zoom, so
yeah,
they would just come to the meeting, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jamie. What?
I was gonna say, if you want to see on the city's, well, actually on YouTube, Easthampton Media has recorded archived meetings from before the pandemic.
Okay.
And you can go and
see all the visitors.
Yeah, get a really big bowl of popcorn and just the exciting Housing Partnership meeting minutes videos from 2018, and just you can
it's just you want to Netflix
out and
you can, nah, babe.
You can watch the whole season all at once.
Easthampton's I'm a binge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna binge fiscal year 19.
We're as equally informal in person as we are on Zoom. And so really we kind of sit around the table. Yes, if we did have a visitor, they sit at the table usually with us. It's not like city council or planning board where there's an audience of people and they stand up to speak. We tend to, usually we know if there's a visitor coming, occasionally we would be surprised, but that might change. I mean, certainly I think if we are doing more around housing stuff or things are happening, we might end up with more visitors. I mean, it's hard to tell, but yeah, they would either sit in the little audience or just sit at the table with us. And it sounds like it's going to be maybe enhanced, but we would record our meetings and there was a little video camera, but we didn't have microphones. There were microphones in the room, but it wasn't we all had our own mic or anything before.
Damn, I've always wanted a microphone.
Yeah.
You don't get the Britney.
No.
Damn it.
No individual headsets for when we do our choreo.
Okay. Anything else on Valley CDC? No. So the only, okay, so actually before I forget, if we could go back and approve the February meeting minutes. Jackie and Shira, we waited for you, though. I don't know, Shira, if you were at February's meeting.
No, I somehow missed that meeting, which I was really bummed about because I really wanted to go to that one with the combined, but I did read the minutes. They made sense to me.
Is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. But we need a second from.
I will second
Okay.
because I was
I'm
there.
gonna say Zach was an official member. Kayam wasn't yet.
I'm not yet
Oh.
official.
Okay, so any edits, changes, comments?
Nope.
All right.
I wrote them, so I think they're fabulous.
All right, so we have to do a roll call to approve that, which was in the open meeting law. So Jackie,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
I'm Jana, and I'm I, and I think that's all who can vote, right, Jamie? Because Shira wasn't at the meet. Shira wasn't there.
My understanding is that any member can vote regardless of whether or not they were at the meeting. They can abstain, they can vote in favor, they can vote against.
Shira, do you want to vote?
Shira Simon, approve these minutes. Aye.
I was there as a non-official member, so I'll say aye as well.
But I do want to know if this article came out.
I didn't see the article. Did anyone else see an article
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the Gazette?
it came
Yeah.
out.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is it bad?
wasn't good.
Is it cringeworthy? I'll have to read it.
I'll have to look because I didn't see it, but I did wonder, like, oh, did it come out? I didn't hear a lot of like
It was
hubbub.
on the
Did
front
anyone?
page.
Oh,
think.
well. Was there a lot of like Facebook chatter or anything?
I didn't
No?
see anything on the Facebook page about it. Maybe I missed it, but it definitely came out though.
Yeah,
Tom and Brad posted, and people just said thank you. You know, they got accolades.
I will look for it. All right, last thing on my agenda. Oh, thank you, Jackie. I think all the committee chairs got an email from Angelique Baker, who's the chair of the Commission on Disability, asking if we wanted to collaborate. Let me find the email. I didn't respond to her yet because I wanted to, I guess, float it by you guys, but now I can't find it. Hold on. It's after our last, oh, here it is. You know, just ways that we might be able to help each other. She had emailed me separately about something else and had, you know, asked if there were ways for us to collaborate. And I think we'd be happy to have them come to our meeting to check in about things that they're working on. I think we'd be happy to go to their meeting if they have things that they want to hear about from us. I didn't have any other real ideas of ways to collaborate together, but I just wanted to float it here in case other people are thinking of things.
Did they approach you with any ideas in particular?
Really?
I mean, I guess it wouldn't
Ways
hurt
that we
to-
think the Committee on Disability could help or vice versa.
What's her name?
Angelique Baker.
I don't think I have that, but I'm sorry, keep talking. I'll keep looking.
Well, I think she just sent it to the chair. So I think she sent it to me.
Oh,
and, like,
chairs. Sorry, I misheard you. Okay.
and like chairs of other committees, I think. It's like an email group, apparently. So. Any thoughts?
Well, it seems like there might be, you know, around some of the fair housing stuff that occasionally comes our way. I can imagine that there might be some overlap there. I mean, I think they're a great ally to add to our listing of folks to help us with the CHAPA project for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think she's on that list.
Yeah, she is.
I think the interests of the two committees definitely align for sure. I just can't particularly think of anything that we could work on together, but who knows?
Well, I can see if maybe she wants to come to a future meeting.
Yeah. One thing that occurs to me is that as at some point as changes maybe to the zoning ordinance happen, that there might be some stuff in there around thinking about accessible housing. I don't know, Jamie, if I'm talking blowing steam here, but it seems like that might be some place where we would talk about making sure things work for them as well as us. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm unclear because zoning is explicitly not allowed to deal with internal things of like housing. You can't like really mess with floor plan. I know we can like, I think when we did sorry, I'm blanking, the East Street properties, there was that was a proposal, we required some of the units to be universal design principles. But I think, because I think the housing, I think the building code kind of covers this.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I mean, I might be very wrong about this. You know, and maybe there's ways to structure it so it's not being required, but it's optional, and there's incentives, you know, for including universal design in the building. Then
so, like, if the building code doesn't include these specific requirements, then maybe that is where we come into play, like in getting the building committee.
No, because zoning, you can't do it through zoning.
Okay.
We could do it through, it's possible you could do it through other ordinances.
Yeah.
But zoning is specifically like disallowed from anything that would be covered by building code.
Okay.
So, you know, and whether or not building code already deals with it, or they've chosen not to deal with it, if it was something that's covered, then the planning board or the zoning board can't really require a developer to build a accessible building unless the building code required it.
The other thought I had was just around the school building reuse. I feel like we're all on that train. You know, that feels like another good place for them to potentially partner.
Yeah. I don't, is anybody from the commission on that committee, Jamie? No.
I honestly don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll check in. I'll email her back. I do think it'd be worth probably just learning a little bit more about what they do and what kinds of things come before them and what kinds of things they're working on, so that we could be, you know, make sure to include each other when things come up that seem relevant.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably stop in at one of their meetings to try to get a better idea of what they do and how we can work together.
So if you do want to go to any of their meetings, they have been meeting the first Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. So, and obviously they're going to be one of the first boards that go back to fully in person, you know, next week or week and a half.
You said 10 a.m., Jamie?
10 a.m. But I don't know if that's going to be changing. I would imagine that they've, you know, people are able to do a Zoom meeting at 10 a.m.
Right.
From easy to like leave, you know, do it while you're at work or whatever. So it's a little bit harder, I think, to be in person. And some of the folks on the commission do have mobility disabilities or you know, transportation difficulties and things like that. So keep an eye. I would, you know, if you're interested, just keep an eye on their agendas. It's on the city's website. It will be listed where the meetings are going to be And if I remember, I will send out when I get the agenda for their meeting, I can also send it to the full committee here.
Cool.
That was all of the things I had on the agenda. I don't know if folks have other things that they want to, anything they want to share, updates, happenings. Okay. Well, I think, yeah, so stay tuned for like meeting location for our April meeting. And stay tuned also for any additional stuff from CHAPA about the meeting in May. There might be some things to review or invitation language to check out. So I will send that along. If I do send that along and you want to make comments, remember to make the comments only to me or only to CHAPA, not to a group email, because that violates open meeting law if we're discussing something via email. So.
And also sort of on that note, my idea of trying to come up with some sort of social media or like resource portal, I haven't had the time to really organize all my ideas on that. And after going to the open meeting law, I've realized it's important for me to really have everything organized and bring it to the meeting so we're not deliberating on email. So that will be something that I will hopefully get into the agenda before the April meeting.
Cool. Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. Well, I think we can officially adjourn. It is 6:55.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.